welcome to the channel. Today we're going to look at a Graflex SLR camera. This was a camera line which was started by Graflex really in the early years of 20th century, and they were continued to be manufactured later by Kodak, which bought them out, I think, in really early on, and they were continued to be manufactured somewhere, I guess, 50s, 60s still. Not sure about this date. This is probably from 30s and not one of the bigger sizes. They made them in many different film sizes to some really gigantic ones with really long lenses, all kind of custom versions. There was a huge variety of this type. But basically what they are film SLRs, single lens reflex cameras. Let's start looking around this first. So the front lens panel here, it's latched, there's no button, but if you rotate the focusing knob, the lens pushes it open. It's got bellows like this, fixed lens, it doesn't move. There was models, I believe, where it could move the lens as well. And here's the aperture adjustment ring around here. This has a Kodak lens. A bit stiff. I restored this camera to usable condition a long time ago, but I think it might need some maintenance. So when the cameras, if there was a long run camera like this one that was made for so many decades, these controls became more simpler and more easier to operate by each generation of cameras that was there. If I remember correctly, this one has the traditional shutter type, the focal plane shutter, like in many of the other cameras I reviewed. But this, there they had like always a slit width that was kind of adjusted to make the exposure. There was only one split. The Graflex cameras have like a long row of fabric where there are fixed slits in each one, so the slit width is not moving, but instead when you wind it, you choose the kind of the width and the functionality of the shutter based on how far you wind it. When you trigger the shutter, then you get basically the one slit goes past, and you need, if you want to use the same one, you need to trigger. So if you want to go downwards in the slit width, basically you need to trip down like one step at a time. Actually, I will try to find you a good link to describe how this Graflex shutter works and put it in the descriptions. I'm not so good in explaining it, but needless to say, it was actually, despite it was kind of much longer fabric and inside the mechanism, but it has survived through the tests of time much better than almost any other shutter type. So a lot of people are still using Graflex's cameras because of the shutter. Just the concept of it is so good, and you really cannot over time make it fail in a way that the slit width doesn't stay the same like in many other cameras where it's dependent on friction and other features. So in Graflex cameras, because it's fixed, so it just stays that way always. And also the shutter tension and everything can be adjusted and other features. If you get one of these, if you have a chance to get a copy of the original manual, it will help a lot. So this is a Graflex cut film holder, patent pending, made in US by Graflex Corporation. There's the red filter, which allows you to see to the backing of the film, so which has the numbers of which number of the film is going on currently inside there. Let's open up this back and see what's inside. So, like this. In many Graflex cameras, this back was rotating. Yeah, this one too had rotating. I think there was something in the model named RB for rotating back. It's this button. Yep, releases it, and you can rotate the back for vertical or horizontal, like image. Here's the cut film holder. So basically, let's open it up. This was a system where you could put films here and exchange them in the bag. This one here, kind of go up and forth, up and down. Let's find it somewhere. Yeah, there's the button to release the cover. And no, these don't have the films, but these are not for glass. These ones which I have here, these are for sheet film. So the more modern one, and you put them there, and within here you could then exchange the films. without exposing them. I haven't actually used this one ever before, so I'm not sure about how well it works. Anyway, here's the holder, so you put films there, load them in the dark, put this in place, and obviously there was some sort of slide here to prevent this first exposure from happening. I have no idea where it is, but then you put it to the camera and you can, using this leather bag, and here you can change the films inside this one. Not sure though how reliable it was in reality, but I've seen quite a lot of them in use, and this is actually superbly well made. It's a mixture of all kind of metals and brass and stuff, so I like. Graflex made really good cameras. Here's the shutter itself. You can see the different fixed slit widths. Now it's T, meaning it's completely open. Now we can hopefully peer into the insides a bit. Let's do the second one, is that we open up this whole thing in all its glory. Oh yeah. This is, sorry, I will show it to you in a bit. This is rather brittle, the full hood. So here's the hood of it. It opens up, open this latch here, it opens up. Let's see inside, if you can see anything. Need to open this one. Not much. Now, I hope you can see that thing. There's supposed to be an image there. There's a glass there, which is basically the light comes through the lens and reflects onto the mirror, and from the mirror to the glass where you can see the image and focus it with the focusing knob, which I showed to you earlier. Now the mirror is down, the shutter here is closed, so let's tension the shutter. There's the fixed width opening, and a smaller one, and a smaller one. So this one puts the mirror up position, that it's out of the way, and this knob here lowers the mirror back to its original position where it's supposed to be, so that you can view, and this releases the shutter. So we take the mirror out of the way. After we focused it, we release the shutter, and we have an exposure. Then we again put the mirror back where it's supposed to be. And this knob here is for the winding of the shutter to the slit width, which you saw here. Let's again go and repeat it as we tension. There's the gap, which is fixed one, unlike in the many old European cameras where it's a variable one, which didn't really survive well. And there it is. This one is in absolute perfect condition. Trigger it again. Let's remove the tension from the shutter, up the shutter. Okay, now it's out of tension, so that'll be fine now. Let's put this one back. And if you want to have yourself a usable camera, that's really good. I mean, these SLRs, Graflex SLRs, especially in the 4x5 inch size, which you can still get from today, they are really good. They're quite heavy, but they're really good cameras. The problem with some of them, especially the older ones, is that the hood starts to deteriorate quite badly. Yes, you could remake one, but not easy. There are some instructions in some books how to make your own, and some people have, once they're broken a long time ago, they have made their own hoods here, viewing hoods here. And yeah, so maybe if you should go for some of the newer versions, the latest versions of them, you might get a good one, but they go for quite a nice price due to this. The other choices go for other cameras made by Graflex, like the Speed Graphic and so on, which are, most of them are still perfectly usable straight on when you buy them. But not always. I mean, depends on who used them and how it was used. And here's the, fun enough, it's in the front, which is the most useless position. But here it's a table which shows the tension number, which is here. It shows the tension of the shutter, how tightly the spring is wound, and combination with the shutter width, basically the gap which I showed you, and what exposure timing you get, so how long the film is exposed, or what we call the shutter speed value here. It's just weird that it's in the front, to be honest. It's not where you're going to be looking. Well, if you hold this against your chest, you bend it backwards, you would look at it. But yeah, I think there might be better places for that. Overall, it's a heavy camera, but it's a very pleasant one to photograph with, view through. Though I remember reading, but I can't verify the sources, that in the old times when some professional photographers used this in many places, they had accidents when there was, let's say in a traffic, they was taking a photograph, they was concentrating, looking here. They didn't see some car or something coming and they got killed or hurt. So there was a problem in action photography that you lost all your surroundings when you watched here. You couldn't see anything else. It's not like you could put your, like in more modern cameras, SLRs, like the digital small Canons, Nikons, you could still keep your other eye open while looking through the viewfinder. Here you cannot, you're basically watching there. So that's why the other type of camera, which doesn't have the viewing hood, but just a rangefinder or a simple viewfinder, they were more popular in when there was a lot of stuff going around you. I have seen, for example, versions of this, or made by some, I think they were made by Graflex, really massive sizes with long lenses that were placed in stadiums, sports stadiums and so on, where you could basically take pictures from far away, and since they were stationary, so there was no risk of, when you were concentrating on the photography, that someone would crash into or collide into you. Rather nice cameras, really well survived. I mean, this was produced in really large quantities, so that's why you can still get these today. Yeah, I've always wanted one of the bigger Graflexes. Maybe I should get one of the more modern ones. Be aware though, when you buy one of the bigger ones, their postage can be quite a lot because they're really, really heavy. Yeah, a lovely camera, very well made. Shows why Graflex was so popular and so many of the cameras are still used today. The quality of this, when you think like this is leather, some of them later ones had more metal parts in them. It's leather and wood, but I would say it's leather and wood and brass just in the correct parts. They didn't do the mistake like so many other makers made, that they put wrong material in wrong place and it never survived the normal use of it and so on. So I think Graflex did very well in choosing of the materials, where and how. They did good engineering. Okay, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe and all that stuff, and see you in the next video.